talk, Phases and Conversations in the Entrepreneurial Journey by Noureen Aysha, co-founder of FemiSafe. Noureen Aysha is the co-founder of FemiSafe, a leading female wellness and hygiene brand, a TEDx and Josh speaker, a menstrual educator, an advocate of period positivity. She was also awarded the TIE Social Impactor of the Year Award 2022 and the Kairali Jwala Awards 2023. May I please invite Noureen on stage?
Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction. Hi everyone, I'm Noureen and I'm the co-founder of FemiSafe. So I'm not going to do a very elaborate introduction about myself right now because I'm going to take you through my entrepreneur journey, and I think my presentation says everything: what's my background, how I started, and where I'm right now. So can I please have my presentation? Okay, yeah. Yes, so as I was introduced, I'm the co-founder of FemiSafe, and FemiSafe is a female wellness and hygiene brand. So if I have to talk about my background, well, to be honest, I'm a computer science engineer, and yes, it's quite surprising how did I end up being an entrepreneur, that too an entrepreneur who's in the non-tech field. Well, I guess just like every confused teenager, after my 12th, I was like, okay, what should I do right now? And I think back then in 2014, 2015, engineering was the cult, right? Everybody was getting into IT and people were saying it's good money and, the IT field is very fun. You can have really nice colleagues. And I was like, okay, why not try it? But third year into my college, I was like, this is not what I want to do. But I somehow managed to finish my engineering. And then I worked for around 3 months, but I was like, no, this is not something I can do. And one thing that I realized was within myself, empathy was something that came naturally, but coding never came naturally to me. So what I did was I started working maybe for 3 months in the coding industry, and then I went on to aviation, maybe just another confused 20-year-old figuring out what to do with life. To be honest, I did have identity crisis. I was like, okay, what do I want to do? I want to do something where I can interact with people, and coding was definitely not that. I was like, let's go to aviation industry. You can interact with a lot of people. But to be honest, I didn't get bored, but I guess I could do more. And then I finally landed into HR. Why did I land into HR? It's because I've always had a very close pull towards psychology and women's health. And I, of course, did not have the patience to go and take another psychology degree. But I thought, okay, let me take an MBA. I'll go into HR, which is close to interacting with people. And you do need a lot of psychology in that. Another thing that I noticed about myself was I was also somebody who talked about periods like how everybody talks about weather, right? And I was shamed a lot for that when I was young. Everybody used to be like, shush, you're not supposed to talk openly about this. But I'm like, I'm okay with that. And that's how I am. So that's how from engineering graduate to aviation industry to human resource management. And to be honest, I did not plan to start a company, but here I am, an accidental entrepreneur. So what was the turning point to start FemiSafe? Well, I believe every founder has that one moment, right? And for me, it was definitely COVID, and it was meeting a very special person, which I'm going to talk about in the next slide. So one COVID day changed everything. Yeah. One COVID day changed, I think this is moving automatically. Okay. One COVID day changed like literally everything. What I noticed during COVID was like, just like everybody, I was bored, sitting at home, and, you start to notice the tiny things around you, right? And just like that, I started noticing that sanitary waste was just getting piled up day by day. The sanitation workers weren't coming to pick up the waste on time. It was just lying over there. And another fact that I noticed was I started spending a lot of time with my family, right? That was a time when all the family and everybody came together. And the tiny conversations that I heard from my family, my relatives, my cousins, I noticed that every time when we talk something about women, maybe a woman's discomfort, it was always, it sounded like a boon, right? So that's when I realized that we are normalizing the wrong things in our society. So that was my turning point to start FemiSafe. Now, I don't know how many of you all know, but I started my brand with my co-founder slash husband. So what was that spark? This is one part where everybody is curious about. So, to be very honest, building a life and a brand side by side is not at all easy. It looks like a cakewalk. It's like you can spend time with your husband slash co-founder 24 hours, but no, it's not a cakewalk. There are a lot of ups and downs. But one thing that I would say is, if you have a person with you who has the same depth and the vision just like you, things get very easy. So a couple of years later, after my graduation in 2020, so everything happened in 2020, the turning point, the spark, everything. So I met my college senior after a couple of years. We were very faintly acquainted in college, just maybe not even a hi bye. He's sitting right there in the audience. Not even a hi bye. But we met each other after a couple of years. We were in the same city, but as two working professionals. And we became friends. We met at an event. We became friends. Conversation slowly turned into dates. Date turned into involving the family. And within a span of 6 months, we fell in love, got engaged, and then started FemiSafe. So that's how FemiSafe came into being. And one thing I'm very proud of having a co-founder like him is, I'm not somebody who comes from an entrepreneurial background. I knew nothing about entrepreneurship, but I did want to become a CEO someday. That was my end goal, climbing the corporate ladder and becoming the CEO of some company. Little did I realize that I would end up being a very, very important part in my own company. But my co-founder is somebody who comes from a business background. He has business in his DNA, right? So when we were having conversations, I knew that this person had depth, and we could become co-founders with a shared purpose. But that's not how the story began. But again, during my turning point, when I saw the sanitary pad waste lying around here and there, the sanitation workers coming and having to pick it up with bare hands. So I just happened to share this with my husband slash co-founder, because during COVID period, we were in our courtship time, and we were talking about everything under the sun because we didn't have anything else to do. And wedding plans were there on the cards, but it was quite uncertain because of the lockdown. So I just happened to tell him that, hey, you know what, I happened to see this, and I wish I could do something. I'm very woke on social media, talking about how period talk should be normalized, that there's everything, but I wish I could do something. And he was like, it could be his business mind. He was like, hey, you're so passionate about this. You are somebody who's been using menstrual cups from so many years. Why don't we do something around it? I'm like, that's a good idea. But what do we do? Talk on social media? He was like, no, you can basically share your experience with people, and we can sell a product that actually changes the life of a woman. So that's how FemiSafe started. Life partner plus business partner was an unexpected combo, but touch wood, till date, it has worked perfectly. So now talking about FemiSafe, why we started FemiSafe? Of course, it's because I'm very passionate about this specific area of women's health and hygiene. Another thing that we spoke about in the beginning while starting FemiSafe was that, we are here because women shouldn't have any kind of discomfort that they have to adjust, right? Most of the discomforts are something that women are told to adjust with, but FemiSafe was that brand which would make a woman's life easy and become a woman's best friend. So periods for us was just the beginning. The real problem was how normalized every single discomfort for women was. So even our product line refers to every single discomfort that a woman can, that a woman goes through but can be made easy. So all the women here, we all know that there are hundreds of discomforts that we go through every single day. I think every single hour probably, right? From periods to intimate issues to body confidence issues. But one thing back in 2020 was most of the brands focused on beauty, right? And we wanted to focus on real life struggles, the unspoken discomforts that women were going through. And that's how we started FemiSafe. That's why we started FemiSafe. And our goal was to make every woman say that, wow, like someone made this for us. How we grew. So in the early days, it was just me and my co-founder. Soon after we got married, we moved to another city, started our brand, and we started the brand from our apartment. We did not take an office for the first 6 months. So I can proudly say that it was not an overnight success. We had no backup, we had no pedigree, nothing. We built everything from scratch, and I can really say that proudly. So we started from our apartment, wherein our work table was split into two. Half of the table was to be, we used to use it for, generating all the labels, to ship the products, to stick it on the products. And the remaining half was actually used like a dining table. So we used to wake up every morning, and this was peak COVID 2020, guys, like August 2020, that time. That's when we started the brand. So Naseef used to take care of the technical side, and I used to take care of all the customer support, the products, packing, and everything. There have been n number of scenarios where we had to pivot our strategies because both of us started this business, and initially this business was our baby, and it was very difficult for us to make any kind of decision changes because we were like, no, this is what we want, but this is what we're going to do. But I think over the period of time, founders realize that it's important to pivot at the right time. If you do not pivot, your brand can actually die. So we've pivoted strategies a lot of time. We've done a lot of wrong hirings. We've corrected that. We've brought in a lot of good people. So it has always been a constant, I wouldn't say battle, but it has been a constant effort that we have been doing with this brand. And another thing from day one, maybe because I am somebody who needs everything to be perfect, I wanted everything to have a system and no chaos. In the early days, it was difficult for us thinking, okay, it's just 2 or 3 of us. Why do we even need a system, right? We could just text over a WhatsApp group. But in the long run, your brand cannot operate without systems. It is going to be very chaotic, right? You can replace people, new people keep coming and going. But if you have a system in place, your brand is going to run effortlessly. Not just your brand, like any kind of business that you have. It was painful initially implementing a couple of things, but it was very effective for us in the long run. And building the right connection. Networking is one most underrated thing that every single person of us can do, whether you're a student, whether you are a founder, whether you are an aspirational founder, whoever you be. In the early days of FemiSafe, me and my co-founder, we did not network with anybody, right? We were in hustle mode. We took an office 6 months down the lane, and our entire life used to revolve around office, home, that's it. And we did not know what was happening outside. And back then we used to think, we are working so hard. Why are we not getting the validation that we actually need or that we actually deserve? And one day, I don't know, it just somehow happened that, I happened to see, okay, there's an event happening. I went for that event. I networked with people. And to be very honest, I'm a very socially awkward person. You see me on the stage with all the confidence, but trust me, I'm very bad at networking. Luckily, my co-founder is really good at networking. He would be the last person to leave the room after an event. So that, we have a balance over there. Networking really helped us. A lot of times when young entrepreneurs come and ask us, hey, I went for a couple of networking events, but, there was nothing important in that. I just wasted my money paying for the pass. I'm like, networking is something, the result is going to be compounding, right? You network with somebody today, you're not going to get an investor tomorrow. You're not going to get a new customer tomorrow. That's not how it works. It's going to have a compounding effect. Wait for it. And I think ever since we started our networking journey or, the habit of networking, whether it be in different states or within Kerala, it really helped us in multiple ways, knowingly, unknowingly. So I think building the right connection is very important for entrepreneurs, especially who come from, a background with no prior experience in entrepreneurship. Next was, as a brand, it was important for us that, especially the kind of topic we were handling, it's quite sensitive. It was important for us that we build heavily on awareness, right? Our first product was the menstrual cup. A lot of people knew about it, but there were a lot of stigmas, taboos, everything revolving around it. And you could not sell the product if people were not aware about it, right? So it was very important for us to build awareness, educate the audience, build trust, of course, distribution, because you can't just give all the awareness and when people come to buy the product, you're not available anymore. So these three things were a couple of things that we noticed in the early days, or we looked into in the early days of FemiSafe. And of course, growth does not come from luck. I tell to everybody, if you see an entrepreneur who's successful, it was because they were also lucky, but not because they were purely lucky. They had clarity, they had vision, and of course, it's a long term game. You can't just start a business and expect to sit on crores or get your company sold just the next day. Okay. Now, where's FemiSafe today? As I said, it was just one idea, which is basically to make a woman's life easy. Along with that, to break the taboos and stigmas. So, back in my school, college days, I used to be called very woke because I used to talk openly about periods. If I'm having my PMS, I used to tell my male friends I'm having PMS. And back then, I used to be like, why are these guys not just understanding? But I think that wokeism kind of paid off after all these years, because today the very same people, when we put any kind of reels or when I put any story, they actually reply to the story, hey, we still remember how you used to talk about these things back in college. So I'm like, it could be a small trait that you have in you, a small idea. Just keep doing it, as long as you know it's not something wrong and it's not illegal. Just keep doing it, and that one small idea could lead to a whole ecosystem for you to build. And we currently have multiple products across period, body, and intimate wellness. As I said, all products of ours it's something that solves a very genuine problem for women. And we built a strong, loyal customer base, because for customers to come and purchase like these products from you, it's very, very important that you build a trust among themselves. So we've been able to do that in the past couple of years. And there were times when we were, kind of at the edge of launching products which were trendy, but luckily we did not jump into it, because I believe that going behind trends can give you a short-term growth, but it's very important to have products which are backed by purpose. And currently we have around 500,000 plus customers and still counting. So I think we've come a long way. It's been 5 years, and again, as I would like to tell everybody that entrepreneurship is, it's a long game. It's a long game filled with risks, and if you do not have risk appetite, then this game is not for you, because there might be days where you feel like, okay, that's it, I'm done, let me shut it down. But then next day, something from somewhere. It's like, every entrepreneur kind of has this thing behind their head that when you really want something, the entire universe conspires, right? So it's very important to have perseverance. Keep pushing, keep doing the same thing. It might take 10 years, 20 years, but who knows, right? In 10 years, you might reach some other level, and you'll be very unrecognizable to the people around you. So the next part is something that I would like to tell all. Actually, I would like to tell myself, not to anybody in the audience, because if Noureen was to build a brand in her early 20s, or leave early 20s, I think when FemiSafe started, because we started FemiSafe when I was 24, Naseef was 26. So we started it quite early, and we were a newly wedded couple who had no clue. We moved to a new city. Even to get the contact of a carpenter or a plumber, we had to Google, right? We were too new to that city. So I think the advice that I would give is, one, as I said earlier, go and put yourself out there. It's very, very important, because nobody is going to serve you anything on a platter. Only crying mouths get fed. That's one thing that I learned from my previous jobs. And that's one motto I tell everybody at FemiSafe, whoever I hire, when they come and tell me, hey, I'm not getting trained, or, I don't know what to do. I'm like, only crying mouths get fed. If you cry, you will get fed, or you won't. So I think every entrepreneur should be shameless and put themselves out there. And entrepreneurship has no handbook, right? I was very confused when we just started FemiSafe. I was like, okay, should I take an executive MBA? It would help me, learn how to run FemiSafe better. Should I take some short-term crash courses, or should I go for some online courses, or should I go for these motivational, the business coaches? Should I go and sit for their sessions? But one thing that I've learned in the past 4.5 years is there is no handbook for entrepreneurship, right? You learn by doing. My journey is going to be very different from another founder's journey. It all depends on what industry you're in. It also depends on what kind of background you come from. If you are coming from a background with really good pedigree, use it. Use all the unfair advantages that you have. It's like a lot of recently there has been a lot of debate around privileges, right? Just use your privilege. Just use your privilege. That's, I mean, if you're born into privilege, just use it. The entire world revolves around unfair advantage. So you don't want to be that nice person saying that, oh, you know what, I have this unfair advantage and I'm not going to use it. I'm being very honest here. Seriously. So if you have any unfair advantage, it could be anything, right? It could be pretty privilege. It could be you coming from a very rich family. It could be you having friends from Ivy League colleges. Just use it, whatever you have. And the next would be cash flow. It's very important as a business owner, because I think the only time when entrepreneurs really have self-doubt and lose their sleep over is cash flow, right? It's very, very important to maintain that. Just remember one thing: even if you don't pay yourself, you have a couple of employees or vendors to pay. Your employees trust you, they work with you, expecting salary at the end of the month. Your vendors provide you products, expecting their payment to go out at the month. So cash flow is the backbone. Be as frugal as possible in the early days, as frugal as possible. You need to keep account of every single penny you spend. I know initially, you might have this thought, hey, I've just started my business, let me just blow off 50 lakhs or 20 lakhs for marketing. Don't do it. Be so frugal with money, thinking that you don't have any more, left with you for tomorrow. Next is product is of course 50%. Distribution is the other 50. If you have really good products, but no way to distribute the products, then you're doomed. So please make sure of that. Building community, it's very, very important, right? So I guess maybe when you are here around this event, you can see this is basically a community, right? So for every brand, for every service, whatever you do, it's very important to build a community, because they are going to be your word of mouth. And hire good humans. Even if you have to, okay, so there you don't need to be that frugal. Going forward in your company, maybe after 2 or 3 years, if you have to spend a little more extra, hire good humans who have growth mindset. Not only people with degree. At FemiSafe, we stopped hiring people who have MBA, but we see if they have really good growth mindset, if they are ready to hustle, because that's what a startup wants. Your degree can just, you can just throw it away, but you really need to be able to hustle. So that's very important for us. And pivot faster than your ego likes. So this is about me. My co-founder is somebody who's like, okay, let's pivot. But I was so attached to FemiSafe's products in the early days. It was very difficult for me to pivot from any product that was not working. And it did cost us a lot. So it was a lesson that I learned the hard way, but not everybody needs to learn the hard way. So if you have any decisions to make around pivoting your brand or your product, or even shutting down your brand because it's not working, just do it. Because it will save you a lot of time, energy, and you could probably do something better during that time. So yeah, so these are a couple of advices that I would give to my younger self. And thank you so much for your time and yours. If there are any questions, I'm open to taking. Yeah, thank you.
We don't have time for questions, Noureen. We're out of time. But of course, once Noureen gets off stage,
Thank you.
thank you, Noureen. Thank you.